Hey, everyone, ever just walk through a city
Yeah.
and see like all those empty storefronts, empty
Yeah.
office buildings, and you're like,
Totally.
what could that be?
Uh-huh.
Well, that's kind of what we're diving into today.
Okay.
We're talking about
Yeah.
the rise
Right.
of
Yeah.
converting commercial properties
Mm-hmm.
into these residential spaces,
Makes sense.
and specifically in a place that everyone knows for innovation,
Okay.
Silicon Valley.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Interesting.
So
Yeah.
it's a pretty hot topic right now.
Yeah, it is a pretty hot topic, and it's fascinating too because it's not just like you said slapping some paint on an old office.
Yeah.
It's driven by bigger forces.
Right.
Like the shift to remote work and the boom in online shopping.
Yeah, I mean, even the source that we're looking at today,
Okay.
which is a video script actually,
Interesting.
for a real estate podcast called Commercial to Residential Conversions,
Mm-hmm.
solving housing shortages in Silicon Valley.
Mm-hmm.
They even point out that California needs millions
Wow.
of new housing units.
That's a lot.
Huge gap to fill.
Yeah, it is. And they argue that these conversions offer a faster, more cost-effective way
Yeah.
to address the housing crunch compared to just building from scratch.
So you're basically saying instead of starting from zero,
Yeah.
you're repurposing existing infrastructure.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great way to put it.
Okay, so for someone like me who's not a real estate mogul,
Mm-hmm.
how does this whole conversion process work?
So
Is it really that much simpler than
Well,
new construction?
I wouldn't say it's necessarily simpler.
Okay.
It just has different challenges.
Okay.
There are still hurdles like zoning changes,
Absolutely.
redesigning the spaces,
Right.
making sure the infrastructure is up to code.
Right.
The script highlights that developers often have to jump through hoops
Oh, I bet.
to get these projects approved and completed.
Yeah, dealing with all those city regulations,
Oh, for sure.
permits.
Totally.
I can only imagine what a headache that is.
It's a whole other world.
So the script also talks about downtown San Jose
Okay. Yeah.
as a successful example of these conversions.
Interesting.
And they actually have before and after photos
Oh, wow.
to show the impact.
That's going to be pretty compelling for investors to see,
Right, right.
just to get a sense of the transformation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, visuals always help.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But what about the money side of things?
Right.
Does the script go into that at all?
It does a little bit.
Okay.
It doesn't get into
Okay.
specific ROI numbers,
Gotcha.
but it does emphasize that choosing the right location, like a downtown area with high demand,
Okay.
is super important for maximizing returns.
Location, location, location.
Right. Exactly.
But
Yeah.
let's be realistic.
Huh?
There has to be some downsides to this.
Right.
This all sounds
Yeah.
a little too good to be true.
You're right to be cautious.
Okay.
The script acknowledges that conversions aren't a silver bullet.
Okay.
There are design challenges.
Okay.
There's potential for community pushback.
Yeah.
And there's always the risk of oversaturation.
Right. If everyone jumps on the bandwagon.
Exactly. It's not as simple as just buy a building, convert profit.
So you're saying due diligence is key
Absolutely.
for any potential investor.
It's not just about the glossy before and after pictures.
Okay.
You've got to dig into the details.
So understanding those zoning regulations,
yeah.
assessing the building,
Mhm.
factoring in those potential costs.
For sure. And the script really stresses
Okay.
that partnering with experienced developers
Yeah.
and architects
Right.
can be a game changer.
Yeah. I mean, it's good to have people who know what they're doing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And the pandemic obviously accelerated
Mm-hmm.
this whole work from home thing.
Totally.
But was this conversion trend already happening before that?
It was. The pandemic just poured fuel on the fire.
Okay.
The script points out that factors like the rise of e-commerce
Yeah.
were already putting pressure on traditional retail spaces.
Right. Creating a pool of potential properties.
Exactly. And then when remote work took off,
Right.
demand for office space plummeted.
Okay. So it's like this perfect storm of circumstances
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
that created this opportunity.
And for savvy investors,
Yeah.
understanding those converging trends
Right.
can be the key to identifying profitable opportunities.
So we've talked about the potential benefits for investors.
Yeah.
But what about the environmental impact?
Oh, that's a good question.
Sustainability is such a big focus these days.
Yeah, it is.
Is repurposing old buildings really that much greener than
Well,
new construction?
the script highlights that from an environmental perspective.
Okay.
Adaptive reuse
Right.
is generally seen as a win.
Okay.
You're not demolishing existing structures.
Right. Less waste.
Exactly. You're using fewer new materials.
So it's not just about creating more housing.
Right.
It's about doing it in a way
Mm,
that's less taxing on the environment.
exactly. It's about being more sustainable.
Now, I'm curious about the neighborhoods themselves.
Yeah.
The script talks about revitalization,
Uh-huh.
but what does that actually look like?
Yeah.
Is it just new residents moving in?
It's more than just new residents.
Okay.
Imagine a street filled with vacant storefronts,
Yeah.
suddenly coming back to life with new businesses,
Okay.
catering to all those new people,
Right.
restaurants, cafes, maybe a bookstore.
So it's about creating a sense of community,
Exactly.
breathing life back into areas
Yeah.
that might have been struggling.
And that can have a domino effect.
Oh, how so?
Attracting further investment,
Okay.
increasing property values, making the entire area more desirable.
So for someone looking at this from an investment perspective,
Mm-hmm.
are there any red flags?
Yeah, there are some things to be wary of.
Okay,
The script cautions against overlooking the potential for community pushback.
oh yeah, that makes sense.
Residents might have concerns about increased traffic,
Uh-huh.
parking shortages,
Right.
or even the changing character of their neighborhood.
So how do you balance
It's a tough one.
the need for new housing with the concerns of the existing community?
It is a tough one, and the script emphasizes that open communication
Okay.
and community engagement are key.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense.
Developers who take the time to address residents' concerns,
Yeah.
incorporate their feedback,
Right.
create a sense of shared ownership,
Okay.
are more likely to see success.
You need to create a win-win situation
Absolutely.
where the new development benefits everyone,
Exactly.
not
yeah.
just the newcomers,
Right.
but the longtime residents as well.
It's about creating a community, not just a collection of apartments.
Right. And the script actually gives an interesting example of how this can be done.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
They highlight a conversion project in downtown San Jose
Okay.
where the developers went beyond just creating housing units.
Okay.
They actually incorporated community spaces,
Oh, nice.
like a rooftop garden
Oh, wow.
and a shared co-working area
That's really cool.
that are open to both residents and the surrounding neighborhood.
So it's like a built-in sense of integration.
Yeah, and it encourages interaction
Yeah.
between those new residents
Right.
and the existing community.
That's smart.
And these kinds of thoughtful design elements
Yeah.
can go a long way in mitigating
Totally.
potential pushback,
For sure.
fostering that sense of
Yeah.
shared ownership in the project.
Exactly.
So it seems like a lot of these challenges
Mm-hmm.
come back to having the right team in place.
Absolutely.
You mentioned earlier that partnering with
Yeah.
experienced developers
Right.
and architects is crucial.
Yeah. It's a good starting point.
But what other kinds of expertise
Okay, so
might be needed for a successful conversion?
the script emphasizes that having a strong team of legal and financial advisors is super important.
Okay, so you need people who understand the zoning regulations,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
tax incentives,
Yeah.
financing options,
All that stuff.
specific to these types of projects.
Exactly.
It's not just about the bricks and mortar.
Right.
It's about having that solid team
Yeah.
of professionals
Mm-hmm.
who can navigate all the legal and financial and community aspects of this.
Yeah. You all got to be on the same page.
And a strong understanding of the local real estate market,
Oh, for sure.
knowing what kind of housing is in demand,
Yeah.
what rental rates are achievable,
Uh-huh.
amenities.
Absolutely.
It sounds like these conversions are a multifaceted undertaking.
They are definitely more to it than meets the eye.
Okay, so we've talked about
Yeah.
the potential benefits for investors,
Uh-huh.
the environmental upside,
Mm.
the positive impact on communities.
Right.
But let's get real.
Okay.
What about the challenges? What are some of the things
Yeah.
that could make these conversions tricky
Okay.
or even unprofitable?
That's where it gets even more interesting.
Okay, so stay with us as we dive deeper
Mm-hmm.
into the potential pitfalls
Yeah.
and roadblocks that investors need to be aware of.
After the break.
Okay, great. We'll be right back.
Awesome.
See you in a few.
Sounds good. Welcome back.
Okay, so
So before the break, we were getting into some of the potential challenges that come with these conversions.
yeah,
And the script emphasizes that even though adaptive reuse might seem simpler than ground-up construction,
right.
you're still dealing with existing structures,
Right.
which come with their own quirks, limitations.
Okay, so you're saying it's not just about
Exactly.
finding any old office building
Yeah,
and just like
right.
slapping some apartments in there.
It's not a one-size-fits-all situation.
There are specific things that investors need to watch out for.
Absolutely. For instance, office buildings.
Yeah.
Often have those large open floor plans,
Right.
which can be tricky to convert into comfortable living spaces.
I see what you mean.
So the script points out that bringing in natural light,
Okay.
creating efficient layouts for kitchens and bathrooms,
Right.
and ensuring privacy between units
Right.
can be major design hurdles.
You need to think about how people will actually live in
Exactly.
those spaces,
It's all about functionality.
not just
Right.
dividing a big space into smaller boxes.
It's got to be livable.
What about things like noise levels?
Oh, that's huge.
Because commercial buildings are often
Yeah.
located in busy areas.
Right, in the thick of it.
So how do you mitigate that?
So mitigating street noise,
Okay.
creating that peaceful living environment
Right.
is super important.
I mean, nobody wants to hear traffic all night.
Nobody wants to live in a construction zone.
Exactly.
And the script even mentions that some developers
Yeah.
are using some pretty innovative soundproofing techniques
Okay.
and strategic landscaping
To try to address that.
to kind of create a buffer
That makes sense.
between the building and the hustle and bustle.
So it sounds like you really need to have a keen eye
For sure.
for both the potential
Mhm.
and the limitations of a building.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll see the big picture.
But even if you find the perfect property,
Right.
what about the financial side of things?
Okay, so
Are there specific costs that investors might underestimate?
absolutely. Infrastructure upgrades are a big one.
Okay.
The script stresses that you can't just assume
Right.
that the existing plumbing, electrical, HVAC systems
Right.
are adequate for residential
We
use.
probably had to update that.
You might have to completely overhaul those systems,
Wow.
which can add a significant chunk to your budget.
And I bet permits and regulations
Oh, don't even get me started.
can lead to delays
Yeah.
and unexpected expenses.
It's like a whole other layer of complexity.
So the script
Yeah.
warns against underestimating
Mhm.
the time and cost associated with navigating all those zoning changes
Uh-huh.
and securing the necessary permits.
Especially if you're dealing with a historic building
Right.
or a particularly strict municipality.
So it seems like due diligence.
Due diligence is key.
It's critical.
You can't just go in blind.
Investors can't afford to be starry-eyed
Right.
about the potential profits
You got to be realistic.
without also being realistic about the potential pitfalls.
It's about weighing the risks and rewards.
Now, aside from the practical and financial challenges,
Mm-hmm.
the script also highlights the importance
Okay.
of understanding community dynamics.
Yeah, that's a big one.
You mean like how the people
Exactly.
already living in the area
Yeah,
might react
right.
to a big influx of new residents?
Because it's going to change the character of the neighborhood.
Right.
The script cautions that even if a project makes financial sense
Yeah.
and ticks all the boxes from a development standpoint,
Right.
it can still face resistance
Oh, yeah.
from existing residents.
Right. Who might fear being priced out
Okay.
or worry about increased traffic
Mhm.
and strain on local resources.
So how do you balance
That's the million-dollar question.
the need for new housing with the concerns
Right.
of the existing community?
It's a delicate balancing act.
It seems like a tricky situation.
It is. And the script emphasizes that
Yeah.
open communication
Okay.
and community engagement are absolutely essential.
It makes sense to involve the community
You got to get them on board.
right from the get-go.
Developers who take the time
Yeah.
to address residents' concerns,
Right.
incorporate their feedback,
Mm.
create that sense of shared ownership,
Right.
are much more likely to see success.
You need to create a win-win situation
Absolutely.
where the new development benefits everyone,
It's all about finding common ground.
not just the newcomers,
Right.
but the longtime residents as well.
Everyone's got to feel like they're being heard.
And the script actually provides
That does
a
it.
really interesting example. Oh, yeah. Tell me about it.
Of how this can be done effectively.
Okay.
They highlight a conversion project
Mm-hmm.
in downtown San Jose
Okay, cool.
where the developers went beyond
Yeah.
simply creating those housing units.
Right.
They actually incorporated
Okay.
community spaces,
Like what kind of spaces?
like a rooftop garden
That's awesome.
and a shared co-working area
That's really smart.
that are open to both residents
Yeah.
and the surrounding neighborhood.
That's a great way to foster a sense of community.
It creates a sense of integration.
Yeah.
It encourages that interaction
Right.
between the new residents
Yeah.
and the existing community.
That breaks down those barriers.
And these kinds of thoughtful design elements
They can make a huge difference.
can go a long way in mitigating
Absolutely.
potential pushback
Right.
and fostering that sense of
It's all about creating a welcoming environment.
shared ownership in the project.
Exactly.
So it seems like a lot of these challenges come back to having the right team in place.
Oh, for sure.
You mentioned earlier that partnering
Yeah.
with experienced developers and architects can be crucial.
They're your foundation.
But what other kinds of expertise
Right.
might be needed for a successful conversion.
So the script emphasizes
Yeah.
that having a strong team of legal and financial advisors is equally important.
You need people who understand the intricacies
Oh, yeah, for sure.
of the zoning regulations,
Right.
tax incentives, financing options specific to these types of projects.
You gotta have all your bases covered.
So it's not just about the bricks and mortar.
It's about the whole package.
About having that solid team of professionals who can navigate all the legal, financial, and community aspects of this project.
They're your guides through the maze.
And a strong understanding
Oh, yeah.
of the local real estate market.
Absolutely. You got to know your market.
Knowing what kind of housing is in demand.
Yeah.
What rental rates are achievable amenities.
What are people looking for?
It sounds like these conversions are
They are
a really multifaceted undertaking.
more than meets the eye.
There's a lot more to it than meets the eye.
You got to be ready for the long haul.
Okay, so we've talked about the potential benefits for investors, the environmental upside,
Right.
the positive impact on communities. But let's be real.
Okay.
What about the challenges?
Yeah.
What are some of the things that could make these conversions tricky
Right.
or even unprofitable?
That's where it gets even more interesting.
Okay, so stay with us as we dive deeper into the potential pitfalls and roadblocks that investors need to be aware of.
We'll be right back.
Okay, great. We'll be right back. Okay, so we're back.
We are.
Ready to wrap up
Yeah.
our deep dive into the world of commercial to
Right.
residential conversions.
Let's do it.
We've covered a lot
We have.
from the design challenges. Yeah, all the nitty-gritty.
To the potential community impact.
The whole spectrum.
But now I'm curious about the crystal ball.
Okay, yeah.
Is this just a passing fad
Right.
or a trend with staying power?
Well, predicting the future is always tricky.
It is.
But the script does offer some insights.
Okay.
It points out that the forces driving this trend,
Yeah.
things like remote work
Right.
and the evolution of retail, they're not going away anytime soon.
So you're saying the demand for conversions could actually increase?
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility.
That's good news for investors who are
Yeah.
getting in on the ground floor.
Right, those early adopters.
But what about the bigger picture?
Okay, yeah.
How might this trend reshape our cities?
So that's a really interesting question.
Yeah.
And the script encourages us to think about that.
Okay.
As more commercial spaces are converted,
Yeah.
it's going to lead to increased density.
Increased
in
density.
urban areas.
Now, some people might hear that and think overcrowding. For sure, it's a common concern.
But isn't there a potential upside?
There could be.
Wouldn't it create a more vibrant,
Mm-hmm.
walkable city center?
Yeah, that's one of the potential benefits the script highlights.
Okay.
Imagine a downtown area where people can live, work, and play,
Okay.
all within walking distance.
Right.
Less reliance on cars.
Less traffic.
Supports public transportation.
Yeah.
Creates a more dynamic and interconnected community.
But let's be realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Increased density also brings challenges.
It does, you're not wrong.
Strain on infrastructure.
Right.
Potential parking nightmares.
Yeah, those are real concerns.
And the feeling of being crammed in.
Right, just that sense of overcrowded.
So the script
Mm-hmm.
acknowledges those potential downsides.
It does, and it stresses that careful planning is crucial.
So cities need to invest
Yeah,
in infrastructure upgrades,
for sure.
create thoughtful zoning regulations,
Right.
and prioritize public spaces
Yeah, you gotta have those green areas.
to ensure a high quality of life.
Absolutely. You don't want to sacrifice livability.
So it's not just about building more housing.
Right.
It's about creating a well-designed
Yeah.
and
This will
functional
work for everyone.
urban environment that
Exactly.
can accommodate that growth.
It's about balance.
And that's where community engagement becomes so important.
It's all about collaboration.
Collaboration between
Developers, city planners, residents.
finding solutions that benefit everyone.
Right, not just a select few.
Now, I know our listener is probably thinking about this from an investor's perspective.
Okay.
So let's say
Yeah.
you've done your due diligence,
Yeah, you've done your homework.
found a promising property,
Right.
and you're confident in your development team.
You've assembled the A-team.
What are some key factors
Okay.
that could determine the long-term
On
profitability?
the conversion project.
What should they be looking at?
So the script points out
Right.
that understanding the future trajectory. Okay.
Of the surrounding neighborhood is crucial.
So are there plans for infrastructure improvements?
Yeah, that's a big one.
Are new businesses moving into the area?
Is there a sense of growth?
Is the city investing in public transportation and amenities?
Those are all good signs.
These are all factors
Right.
that can impact property values.
Yeah.
And rental rates.
Down the line.
So it's not just about the building itself.
It's about the bigger picture.
It's about the neighborhood.
The context.
And the city as a whole.
Exactly.
Savvy investors need to think long-term.
Play the long game.
And consider how the area is likely to evolve.
Absolutely.
And as we discussed earlier, community support can be a major factor.
It's a make or break factor.
In a project's success.
You got to have the community on board.
You know, as we're wrapping up this deep dive, I'm struck by the fact that these conversions are about so much more.
It's bigger than just real estate.
Than just bricks and mortar. It's about community building.
They have the potential to reshape our cities.
Right.
Influence how we live. Interact with our communities. And even contribute to a more sustainable future.
It's about creating a better future.
That's a great point to end on.
I think so, too.
So I hope our listener walks away from this deep dive with a fresh perspective.
A new lens to view things through.
On this trend.
Right.
And a better understanding of the opportunities and challenges it presents.
It's a complex issue.
So thanks for joining us on this journey of exploration.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time.
Yeah.
Keep those minds curious.
Stay curious.
And those investments strategic.
Make smart choices.
See you next time.
Take care.